Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Gail of Gaia, and this is Free Range, and I have a very exciting show today with three guests. We have had Sterling Hill on before. She's our DNA expert. We have Derek Bartolselli, is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay, I'm
Bartolacci.
sorry, I didn't want to murder your name,
No
but
worries.
anyway.
You're good, thank you.
And Shane Paul Smith. And
Well, that was
today,
easy.
yeah, it was. And we're going to talk about natural law. Shane and Derek in particular have done a great deal of work in that regard and have some other issues that they'd like to inform us about. So Sterling, why don't we start with you, and you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, then we'll move to Derek, and then we'll go to Shane.
Well, I'm a genetic applications engineer, where their pharma's always trying to find drugs to manipulate DNA. I use the system against them, and I find nutritional factors that help DNA turn off things that should be off and turn on things that should be on and working nutritionally. So I'm always using the system against them. I'm using our creators' plants here on Earth.
That's beautiful. I love that, and I know that nutrigenomics is very important. It always has been. What you eat can turn on and turn off genes too, and so Sterling has studied that extensively and become an expert in it. Derek, tell us about yourself.
Been living out in France for the past decade. Originally from San Francisco, California.
Oh, wow.
Even in North Bay, yeah. Woke up, had a extremely intense, like, spiritual awakening, like the universe zapped me, literally, or even like Mother Earth Gaia. Which,
wow.
You know, I love your name, by the way. Back in
Thank
2012.
you. I love Gaia.
Yeah, likewise. And yeah, I just went through like a quantum leap of intense information day and night. I made it my full-time job, working overtime, and just learning about all the things that I kind of bypassed growing up. And I wasn't a big fan of television or watching the news, and I felt pretty dumb. I was married and was looking to have kids, and I was like, you know, what the hell am I going to teach my kids? So
what's
yeah,
this life all about?
Yeah. And yeah, it was been full on ever since. And I had just such a conviction and connection with music as well. Like I say, I have like, I listen to certain songs and I have like tears of conviction, if you will. And I've been made around like 75 conscious, more or less like hip hop mixes that are kind of themed towards certain things. And so I consider myself like a conscious DJ, if you will. I mix truth-infused music, and I also put together some videos as well. So that's what I've been doing for the past 7-8 years, and yeah, just trying to inspire and motivate and influence people on a positive path.
That's awesome. You know what's interesting about that I've always found is that it seems that musicians always, I mean, most musicians I've met are, their consciousness, they're much more open. They know, you know, they're more awake than your average Joe for some reason. When I think it's because of the side of the brain that you use as a result of being musical. But anyway, that's awesome. And, you know, each one of us are strategically placed, the way I understand it, especially at this time, for a particular reason. And so your consciousness is needed wherever you're at. And so anyway, okay, Shane. Shane, your turn.
So I'm Shane Paul Smith. I'm a double Pisces with a Scorpio rising. I think that's very important to know. Let's see. So basically, I spent 17 years after I went into the military. Could you believe, Derek, that I was an order follower? But I went into the military, and yeah, I got a ton of V's that they gave me when I was in there. That ended up causing extreme bipolar for about 17 years from the time when I was 19 when I went in, and all of the V's. I like, people are going to understand what we mean by V's, right?
Yeah, they basically call the military pin cushions.
Right.
We like to call them backadoodles.
The backadoodles, the V's. Yeah. So, yeah, but I know for a fact. So 4 years ago, I went to a holistic doctor who did a test called a Z-scan. And I think this is very important. People, I think, need to know about the Z-scan machine because if you go to a holistic doctor who does this, I mean, this thing literally can tell you if the fifth disc in your back is slipped or something like that. Well, anyway, the first question she asked me was, were you ever in the military? And I said, I knew it had something to do with the military. I said, why? And she said, because you have a ton of heavy metals in your body, and I guarantee that's what's causing the bipolar. So anyway, she put me on a bunch of stuff to detox. I couldn't tell you what they were. It was a lot of different things. But about a month and a half later, I remember waking up one day and I was like, what am I doing today? And I'll never forget that morning as long as I live, because every morning before that for 17 years, I woke up and I thought, I wish I didn't wake up. And so when I woke up and I thought to myself, like, what am I doing today? It was huge. Like, I mean, you just can't, I mean, it felt like I had, like, my brain was like the static, you know, whenever a TV's, you know, like between channels, you know, that's what it felt like my brain was. And so, yeah, it's been 4 years and I haven't had a single bipolar episode since. I wake up every day, you know, like a normal person, I guess. I don't really know. I'm pretty sure I'm still not normal. That kind of leads
Well,
me
what is
into,
normal in this day and age
Yeah.
anyway? We don't want, and
I
I
have
don't
no
go for
idea.
the new normal either. I'm going for a totally different realm.
Right. I have no idea. But I mean, I'm a musician and an artist. I do tattoos currently. I make music. You know, some of it is, you know, even conscious hip hop. I do all kind of different things. So I play acoustic guitar and, you know, a lot of right-brained activities. I'm trying to balance out a little more with the left brain recently. So I guess we're going to talk about some of that stuff today.
That's awesome. Okay. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, audience. And let's get down to business on natural law. Now, I understand you have studied that. And how would you describe it? Whoever wants to go first, it's free range here.
Go ahead, Derek.
Well, they're nothing of the sort of what man created. They've been in existence before man, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Is this what you would consider do no harm? Or
yeah, definitely. It falls into many religious teachings as well. But, you know, there's obviously many distortions within any religion, more or less, in regards to natural law. And yeah, we could call it the law of morality. You know, do unto others as you would have done to you.
Yeah.
And there's also, you know, the law of consequentialism. It's also called cosmic law, universal law, karmic law, if you will. Many different things. But yeah, it makes more sense if kind of keep it more uniformly. So that, yeah, in this segment, we'll be just referring it to as natural law.
I would call it the laws that govern the consequences of the behaviors of beings with the capacity to understand the difference between right and wrong. That's the best definition that I've heard.
I like that, Shane. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, and anywhere in the universe, most likely. I mean, it's the same. I mean, when thinking of natural law, I mean, gravity falls under natural law. It's any law that wasn't that isn't man-made. That it's a law because it's binding. It's immutable. It exists whether we perceive it or not. We're bound by it. So basically, anytime that a person you know, any action that we take either results in order or chaos in our lives, and that determining factor is whether or not it is based in fear or love. Are you familiar with Dr. Emoto's work on the freezing of the water?
I most definitely am. I write love on my water tank, and
I know. I had this
Sweet.
too. I got love and peace and
yeah,
healing and all this stuff.
yeah,
Hey, it makes sense to me. So,
yeah.
I know it sounded a little strange at first, but then when you hear about, these laws and how, basically it's like what's going on in the world right now. We're getting the results of, our previous behaviors. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's like, each of us has our own karmic consequences, but then there's also karmic consequences in the aggregate, and so what we're seeing right now is the consequences of aggregate behavior. What we're trying to do as a society is we're trying to create order through control, and we're trying to create something that never can be and never will be. We can't create order through control, because since control is based in fear, it's never going to happen.
That is good.
Yep.
Control is based in fear. It certainly is. That is so true.
So, can I ask a question here?
Please.
How is natural law and the people's rights being violated in the recent times right now?
Yeah.
Well,
basically,
Let me count the ways, right?
Yeah.
what is a right exactly? That's what people need to really understand first and
yeah.
foremost. Because, basically any right that anyone has is something that doesn't cause harm to any other person or any other being, more or less.
Inalienable rights?
Yeah, you have the right to do anything that doesn't cause harm to another sentient being, pretty much in a nutshell. And so, let's say you want to drive without a seatbelt, for instance, right? You have the natural law right to do that, right? And any person that tries to stop you from doing that, order followers, is actually breaking natural law themselves, and will reap the consequences, the natural law consequences of that action that they are taking to try and stop you from doing something that you have a natural law right to do. It doesn't matter how many people get together and say, oh no, we all agree everyone must wear a seatbelt, and and we're going to get our order followers to come out and steal money from you, and if you don't pay them
Extort
that money,
it,
if you don't pay them that money, we're going to kidnap you and throw you in a prison. It doesn't matter how many people believe that that's legit, or if that's the right thing to do. It doesn't make it right in nature, in actuality, in point of fact.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. Do you have anything to add, Derek?
Well, yeah, for sure. Well, let's go back to the question. What rights are being violated right now?
Yeah.
Way too many. At the root of it, just the fact that people are consenting towards slavery, which is a euphemism for government. If you break down the word government, gubernare in Latin, govern means meant. It's control, obviously, and mens mentis in Latin means mind. Yeah, and people want to argue that and this and that, but the first principle of natural law, mentalism, right? That's what the creators of the English language meant by including ment at the end of many words, because the state of or condition of anything that is in existence pretty much first happened from mind, pretty much.
Well, mentalism, yeah.
Interesting.
So
interesting.
So we have a lot of rights being violated right now, guys. It's really insane. I see how people are told to wear the mask, and as I see the mask is, basically you're letting them control you. The powers that be that feel that they have power here, which they don't. But you're allowing them to have this false control over you. And I feel when you do that, you're like sacrificing yourself to their false belief system and their false gods. Am I right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yes,
It seems like to
definitely.
me too. It seems like it's part of a ritual too, like an initiation
Yeah.
ritual
Oh, yeah.
that we're all, you know, we're all being initiated into something new.
Yes, and this
Mhm.
masking too. If you look at it historically, it was put on slaves, and I can just
Mhm.
see the elite laughing at everybody that's wearing a mask and saying, "Look
Yeah.
at that,"
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. And so many people have been
Mhm.
complicit in it and think they're actually protecting themselves when we know very well that mask that they're wearing is not a microfilter. It's not going to protect them from any bacteria or virus or anything that they think it's protecting them from. As a matter of fact, it's more than likely going to cause health problems. You can't, you don't
Mhm.
get enough
Yeah.
oxygen. You actually weaken your immune system rather than empower it. It's funny, they never talk about boosting your immune system. They only,
No.
it's always the opposite approach. It's
I
just
would
totally.
like to add here, I would most definitely like to add here that I know Judy Mikovits personally. And for anybody who doesn't know Judy Mikovits out there, she was a molecular virologist that actually worked under Fauci at one time. And also my ex was a Fulbright colonel, a cardiovascular surgeon. He was Ronald Reagan's surgeon, and he had AIC clearance spelled backwards. I don't like ever saying that word.
Oh yeah.
In the
Mhm.
Pentagon. Okay, this was my ex. All
Alphabet
right.
soup.
And he was a big time surgeon. He would do heart transplants, kidney transplants. He
Wow.
was the best of the best, also a master's in public health and a flight surgeon and a bariatric surgeon. And he was one of the best bariatric surgeons in the world. And this was right around the time I woke up. I lived with him for 3 years. I was engaged. The wedding was planned. And when I woke up, I ran. But to add that in, and what I know about genetics and retroviruses and bacteria, when they're making these handmade masks and stuff, it's like trying to prevent a mosquito from getting through a chain link fence. Okay. All right. And then I had
That's
a lot
funny.
of
I've heard
people
that
come
before.
after me.
That's a
I
good
had
one.
a lot of people come after me, and these are people with degrees and stuff, nutritionists, and I didn't realize how some of them are still half asleep because they would argue with me. Well,
Programmed.
surgeons have been doing this for years. And I said, well, my ex being a surgeon that would be in a room sometimes for 12 hours working with a transplant team, after 2 hours of having an N95, which is a little bit different, they would take off the mask, leave the room, take off the mask. Another surgeon would take over, and they would take a little break, put on a new mask, clean again, come back in. They would get back their oxygen they have lost. And the same with the surgical team. If the surgeries lasted over 2 hours, unless there was an emergency and they were the only surgeon that could be there for hours. This is how it would go. And even the N95s cannot even hold the virus either, because the virus is much smaller than the N95. That's why surgical teams are told, if you have a virus, you do not come to work. Bacteria is a little different. But as far as virus goes, no, that's why you don't even go. And you've got a virus, they're not going to let you go do a surgery, because you're going to get that virus even with that N95 on. So all this is just utterly ridiculous. And I said, all right, if people are really scared of this, and the people that are scared of the flu, that are high risk of dying of the flu, are also the people that are high risk of dying of this. We've seen the numbers. Those are the ones dying, the same people who died from the flu. Well, in that case, wear face shields, okay? Face shields, plastic. It's not going to get through that plastic. I mean, it can come up under. When you're not trained in a surgical environment either, and you're always adjusting that mask and stuff. I've put out photos, people are getting staph infections. You have dental bacteria. And let's say you have a little staph in your jaw or some other kind of dental bacteria. You're going to breathe it out, and then it's going to get up in that handmade mask or that N95, and it's going to get warm, moist, especially if you live here in Louisiana like me and Shane, where it's very tropical at the moment. And that's why we have one of the only tropical disease clinics in the United States of America, because it's so tropical. And, you're going to get staph. You're going to breathe it out, and then that warm, moist mass is going to just colonize all that bacteria, and then it's going to get back on your skin when you sweat because you're adjusting the mask and you're doing this and that. You're going to be at higher risk for this virus too, because you're going to touch it and you're going to, oh, let me readjust my mask. Oh, I've got sweat dripping, and people don't understand that. So if we feel like people are at high risk and we don't want them, wear a shield. You can still see the face and stuff too. Tell those people that are at high risk of getting this to wear a face shield. It's highly dangerous what they're telling people right now. It's actually, in my opinion, intentional, and I'm pretty sure you all see it as that as well, because you're woke. Hey, and then that's kind of like what they've just done. They had 10,000 faith leaders call into the White House. Who's the first person who gets in? BIRX. I don't want to say that her name, but she gets on there and she tells everybody, don't congregate, don't do all this, don't sing. Oh, because that's a positive frequency. It's going to unveil their lies if we keep on singing and praising and respecting our planet and humanity as well. And then she tells them, it was just absolutely insane what she told them. She told them that basically she told all 10,000 of these faith leaders, you have to make sure that the immunocompromised and the elderly get this Vaccadoodle when it comes out. Okay? And after me talking to Judy Mikovits and knowing what she said, Judy said that if they gave it to everybody in America alone, which we have 230 million people here, 232 million, 50 million would die. Okay, who are the ones that are going to die? The elderly and the immunocompromised. So that's a red flag in my brain. The reason they're pushing that is who are a waste. Who do they feel are a waste on our society? The ones they have to give Social Security checks to, the retired, and the ones that they have to give disability checks to, the immunocompromised. Okay, so I know from years ago when people had HIV, it was very, very against giving a Vaccadoodle because they were immunocompromised and it could kill them. But yet they're pushing it now.
They're lying to people. That's the real crime of it all. It's a crime against humanity. It really is.
So this is a way that, we're being violated in these recent times. I almost promise you. And people are going to go running for it and stand in line for it.
And I would like to bring up the reason why that people are falling for this, because basically, and the reason why people can't see through the lies is because, so consciousness being the ability to recognize patterns and meaning in relationship to those patterns. So that's my definition of conscious. It's not my definition, but actually Mark Passio's definition, which I want to plug Mark Passio. What on Earth is Happening? If you'd like to learn about occult knowledge and natural law, that is a great place to go. A lot of my definitions that I get are actually from Mark. I think he's probably doing the best work out there on natural law. But anyway, so that's his definition of consciousness. And the way that a person's level of consciousness is based upon their level of morality. So when people are living, immorally, their consciousness goes down and their ability to recognize those patterns and the lies goes down. So and basically, and that's a good time to bring up the law of freedom and morality, where the dark occultists who are running the show, like behind the scenes, the puppet masters, whatever you want to call them, the real power differential between us and them is knowledge, and that knowledge is the occult. And I grew up thinking the occult was evil, astrology was evil, all these powerful tools.
So did I.
All these powerful tools that I found out, by looking into it for myself. I'm like, these are powerful tools. This is powerful knowledge. This is what we need to know if we want to live morally. I mean, not necessarily astrology, but if you want to know, the tendency of what energy's coming. I mean, it's like a farmer. Is it evil for a farmer to know that it's a good time to plant crops because the season, is right for it? No. But, but the law of freedom and morality is that a person or society can only be as free as they are moral. And these dark occultists know that. So what do? They propagate immorality in society, through the music industry, through the movie industry, the TV industry, you name it, they're propagating immorality because they understand that when people live immorally, that their consciousness goes down and they're not able to see the tricks that are being pulled on them. So that's why, in my opinion, people are falling for these ridiculous lies.
I think part of it is myself too. I would agree with that. But I also think there's mind control and programming going on that we're not even aware of. Us. Some of us seem to be immune to it, but those are usually the people that aren't turning on the TV news and the TV all the time and getting those subliminal messages that are entering their heads and making them think the way they do, which is contrary to what's in their best interests.
Right.
So that really is a big issue. And unfortunately, it does seem like some of us are immune to it. And I guess that's why we're here, to try to open others' eyes.
Yeah, and I would argue that it's a big possibility that the people who can see through it, care more about others than they do themselves, or they have a love for humanity. They
there we go.
Like I said,
service to others instead of service to self.
Right. Oh, can I throw in a quick? That reminds me of why. So are you aware of why 666 is the number of the beast? Like, why that particular number is the number of the beast? And you'll understand why I'm saying this in a minute. So basically, 6 plus 6 is 12. 12 plus 6 is 18. 1 plus 8 equals 9. Right. Well, 9 times anything. So 9 times 2 is 18. 1 plus 8 equals 9. It goes back to itself.
Numerology, right?
Right. Yeah. So 9 plus anything. So if you do 9 plus 2, right, it'll be 11. 1 plus 1 equals 2. So the reason why it's the number of the beast is because anytime you add anything to ego, it comes back to itself. It just makes more ego. And so when people are living right.
Okay,
see?
like
and
that.
So that's why 666 is actually 9. 9 is the number. Let any man who can calculate the number of the beast. You have to calculate it. It's 9 actually. But 666 is what they put out there as, for people who had no clue what, numerology was or whatever. So, but the reason why is because, ego, you add anything to ego and it just gets more of itself. You times anything times ego and it's just more of itself. And so when people aren't able to see these things and people, can't see through the lies and the propaganda and the mind control, you have to wonder if they're, if they're not living a little too much in the ego. I mean, we all do. And the ego is actually an important thing. If it wasn't for the ego, we wouldn't know that we were different than that tree limb that was falling out of the tree, right? And we wouldn't know to jump out of the way. We wouldn't know to take the spoon and feed our own mouth if we didn't have ego. So it's a good thing. But, it just turns out that, when it's a little rampant, then people, are basically just living in it, then they become less and less conscious,
Yeah, well, there's the shadow ego as well. And going back to the 666 in the Masonic traditions, they refer to that as base level consciousness. That's what the checkered floor represents on the tracing board. You have the Jacob's ladder with the key hanging down, to kind of get up out of that base level consciousness. That's kind of what alchemy is as well.
That's what
we're turning that lead-based consciousness into gold. And that's the alchemical process.
That's why they put the checkered board across the foreheads of the order followers.
Yep.
Because it represents base level consciousness, and it means that they don't know the difference between right and wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, they do that. Is that in England that they do that with the?
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
In Australia as well, I think I was there recently.
Oh, really?
They do it. Yeah. Well, that's part of the. What is it? The Commons, the Commonwealth nations. And that's what it's called.
Yeah. And the reason they don't know the difference,
so.
the reason why they don't know the difference between right and wrong is because man's law is moral relativism, And something that's okay in one area is not okay in another area. It's okay in 1919 to drink, but in 1921, it's not okay. And that's by design. I mean, it's moral relativism. That's the reason why people don't know the simple difference between right and wrong. They don't understand that, you know, in order for a wrong to be committed, there has to be a person that's been violated. You know, there has to be some sort of harm done to a person. And, you know, if you're driving, I love using the seatbelt law, for instance. But yeah, if you're driving without your seatbelt, you're not causing harm. It doesn't matter what potential harm you could cause to yourself. That's your right. And anyone that tries to stop you from doing that is breaking natural law themselves. So that's the reason why people are so confused about the difference between right and wrong, is because man's law is moral relativism.
Yeah, that's really true. And, you know, I have a friend that I recently met who was telling me the story that he was in this terrible car accident. He didn't have his seatbelt on. If he had, he was thrown from the car. If he had the seatbelt on, he would not have survived, because the car was crunched, crunched this way, and it would have killed him. But because he was thrown from the car, he did survive. So, you know, one day it might actually help you, and another day it might kill you. So
Right.
I'd rather just take my chances on my own, based on my own feeling at the time. So, but anyway, we get programmed for this because they fine us, and they throw us in jail, and all kinds of things over the stupidest things.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy?
Something? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, just to trail on to the moral relativism things in regarding to, you know, what's happening with the Rona, if you like to call that.
Roni.
Have you noticed they keep switching their stance on certain things? They say, oh, you can wear masks now. And, you know, like the CDC or the WHO mentioned that,
Oh, they're dirty.
masks only needed for people that are taking care of people that are infected and people in hospitals.
Let's see.
But when months before, they didn't say that. And I don't know if you've heard this mind control programming, but it's called Alice in Wonderland programming. Don't know if you guys have heard that, but they keep flip-flopping on certain things to make people just confused, and they kind of just give up, and they're just like, all right, let's just, you know, they're just going to surrender, and they, you know, they just follow what the dictates of their BS.
Confuse and confound. That seems to be a something they do about a lot of things. Somebody will put some truth out, and to counter it, they'll put, you know, something opposite out that makes people question and doubt then what was actually the truth.
Yeah.
They do that a lot, and it's really a shame. Yep.
Yeah. Fear brings confusion, and I mean that's, you know, that's why people they fear things that they don't know, you know, anything about, and the only thing that can save us from that confusion is knowledge, you know, like true actual knowledge of what's really going on. And so if they can keep flip-flopping on all of these things, then they can keep people in a state of fear because they're going to be confused and not understand what's really going on.
And unfortunately, that keeps the entire planet in a lower vibration than what we want.
They're doing that intentionally. They do not want us to know how powerful we really are.
Of course.
Right.
That is so true. And part of that power could come back to us by knowing more about natural law. And so that's really important. Like the word, if you tell just as an example that I'm aware of, you can expand on this probably, is if you say you understand to a judge or to a policeman who is a policy enforcer, not anyway, we won't go there, but anyway, you know what I mean. So those are issues. So you stand under, ice. So you want to say you understand, and then people look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah, another way to look at it is pole ice. It's called green language. So sometimes the dark occultists use green language. So they'll make up a word that, you know, so we say police, or you could say pole ice, right? Like the ice on the poles that so they can't climb up, you know, the ladder. They can't climb up the poles to get to the truth, you know, like in the he was talking earlier about the Masonic board and so pole ice, or military would be my light awry, right? Or officer, off-eye seer, off-eye seer. So their third eye is off. Like there's a bunch of, it's
That's
all green
good.
language.
Now you're getting there.
It's
That's
pretty,
the kind
it's
of
pretty
stuff.
interesting. Yeah,
Yes.
green language is pretty interesting stuff, and some of it is done directly by them, and some of it just turns out that way, And so, like people who are vibing in the truth, frequency, see those things sometimes, and a lot of people say, "Oh, that's just silly, whatever," But I mean, like, I really think that people vibing in the truth, and that was what I wanted to talk about next, is the truth. Like, so what, the truth is always mystified. It's always, oh, the truth, there's my truth, there's your truth. There's only the truth. The truth is what has happened and is happening right now. That's the truth, right?
And now.
So what actually is, right? So if you think of a sound wave, right? And you've got that line that's in the middle, right? It's always constant. That would be the truth, right? And the waves would be like our perception, all right? When our job here is to align with the truth. If you're familiar with sound waves, like there's the base level right here, which is the constant, which is the truth. And then there's the wave that goes through. A low bass tone only hits that middle frequency, hits it every once in a while, less frequently, right? And so if we align with the truth, that means our frequency goes higher, right? And as our frequency goes higher, if it goes, to an infinite number, right, then we are completely vibing with the truth. We are aligned to the truth. But if when our frequency is low, we only align with the truth here and there. You get what I'm saying? It's like when people drink, it lowers your frequency. When you drink, it lowers your frequency. It causes you not to be able to, that your perception isn't aligned with the truth as much, right? And then if you smoke a little green, then your frequency goes up. Your frequency goes up, and you're more aligned with the truth. Like, as soon as I smoke, like, and I don't smoke that much, but when I do, like, let's say me and Evan were just, getting in a tiffy or something, and, and I'll go in there and, I'll smoke and I'll sit down and go like, man, like, what? I'm an idiot. Like, why did I say that? Or, whatever. And I noticed for me, it has the tendency, when I smoke, it has a tendency to raise my frequency, and, and it puts me in more in alignment with the truth. When I drink, it lowers my frequency, and so, I don't think it's any coincidence that they call them spirits,
Yes, a great opportunity for spirits to invade your body.
Right. Yeah. Put you at that frequency that then you're vibing with those spirits. Yeah.
So anyway, guys, how are there ways we can apply natural law in our life, and then also to help us transform oneself?
Good question.
Yeah, very good question. Let's see. There are 7 principles of natural law. I don't think we mentioned those before.
No, we haven't.
We did say the first one is mentalism. It's all about your state of mind. It's all about your state of mind. If you don't have a good state of mind, if you don't have balance of, the both hemispheres of the brain, then there's something that might be off. But I'll just continue with the other principles. There's also vibration, like what you were vibing on earlier, Shane, and the rhythm, cause and effect. That's one of the biggest ones, which is why natural law is also called consequentialism. The consequences of, and that's really important as well, because we tend to we don't see the causal factors of why, there's problems. We see the symptoms, but those are on the planes of the effects. We don't understand the plane of the causality of that situation and why it occurred sometimes. You can kind of take a simple disease for that matter, or just, a simple illness, why someone got sick, it could basically just be because they weren't living a healthy life, But going back to the principles, there's the law of correspondence as within, as without, as above, so below, as this spirit, so the soul. And the law of gender. So with the law of gender, there's always we have both aspects, obviously we're physically manifested into man, woman, but, take, for example, going back to the hemispheres of the brain, there's the right and the left side, feminine and masculine, both have their parts, the masculine is more logical thinking and the feminine side is more internal, emotional,
intuitive,
creative,
compassionate,
created,
yeah.
And the left and the right. So everything here is about balance, and it's about and so as above, so below. We look out. I mean, let's put a few of those principles into actions or into work. So we people have observed the sun and the moon and realized that the sun has masculine energy, it's giving. The moon has feminine energy, it receives, right? It's representative. And then we have the left and the right hemispheres of the brain, which the control systems that are in place and all these institutions are here to keep us, they don't care if you're in a left brain imbalance or a right brain imbalance. It doesn't really matter to them as long as you're in balance, because when you finally balance out the left and the right hemispheres, which is the sacred masculine and sacred feminine, then you turn on the neocortex, right? Like the movie The Matrix. So in the movie The Matrix, Morpheus represents the sacred masculine, Trinity represents the sacred feminine, and Neo represents the child that is born of the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine, the neocortex, which is higher thought processes, right? So the actual Trinity, speaking of Trinity, the actual Trinity that every religion has a Trinity. You notice that? Every single one. Which one of them is right? How could they? Why did they? It's because they're all trying to hide and obfuscate the real Trinity, which is thoughts, emotions, and actions. Thoughts, the Father, the Creator, right? The Creator God, right? What creates everything is from thought. Emotions, the spirit in which we do things, the Holy Spirit. And then born out of those two is action, which is the Savior. Our Savior is our actions. That's how we're saved. That's what Jesus was trying to say before they, made it all about believing. Okay, it's not about believing, it's about living it. And Jesus was trying to tell people that. He was trying to explain to people it was about their actions and living it. But then the church came along and said, well, we got to get people off that kick. So, we're going to make them, believe that they have to believe in order to be saved. But the truth is that the Creator set up these laws, and it's built into the fabric of nature, right? And every action that we take, it basically creates order or chaos according to law. And so we're, it's not like the Creator's sitting here, as like a personal force that's always being involved. The laws are set up in nature, and our job is to align with those laws and to harmonize with those laws, because man's law will never create order because it's based in control and fear. But what will create order is an understanding of natural law and harmonizing with natural law. And that way you'll start to see, for instance, like I put natural law into effect when I realized, oh my God, I'm causing harm by killing animals and eating them. Like, hey, I didn't want to be a vegan, okay? Like, I'm just gonna let you know. And everybody that knows me knows that I did not want to be a vegan. But when I realized, I was like, I'm causing harm. That life is not my life to take. I mean, that realization right there was like huge. That is not my life to take, because natural law is all about property rights. It's all about what is yours and what is not yours, okay? And what an animal's life is not yours. But there's a scripture in the Bible that says that we have dominion over animals. So I guess that means it's okay. Look, I'm here. I'm talking to my dad. I'm like, Dad, is it possible that maybe some people along the way decided to put some stuff in there that wasn't true?
It's absolutely possible. In fact,
it's absolutely
did.
possible. Like, whether
They
you want to
did.
look, you want to know why people don't want to believe that because then they actually have to do the work that it takes to determine and to discern for themselves if it's true or not. See, they like the convenience of being able to open a book and it's all true. But look, I can guarantee you that it's not all true. In Romans 13, right? All government is ordained by God. Cannot be true. Cannot ever be true. Authority does not exist. Yeah, it's written by, I don't know, Romans maybe. I mean, like,
and the Romans killed Jesus, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Order followers killed Jesus. Hello.
What the hell?
Yeah, but I'm telling you, like, that can't be true. And what's crazy about all this that's going on right now?
We're losing you now.
Yeah.
You've got all these people protesting, which
they don't like what you're saying.
basically better. Yeah, I'm losing y'all. Y'all are losing me. Is it better?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Ooh, yeah. Let me walk out here. I'm sorry, y'all.
Not your
Is
fault.
that better?
How would you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Woo, I'm feeling it. All right.
You're talking about protesters, right?
Yeah, I was saying that protesting is basically, begging for the government, to stop beating us a little bit, or to start beating us a little bit less or something. So I don't agree with protesting at all. But what all of these people agree on is the fact that government needs to still exist. And the problem with all of this is government, period, And I mean, Jesus was trying to bring Jesus back up. He was trying to tell people that government, that money, and religion were the three things enslaving us. And to this day, nothing's changed. People believe in money, they believe in government, and they believe in religion. And they think that these things need to continue, but these things are the problem, period. Like, so it just amazes me that all these people are out here, and they all have such different views about, Black Lives Matter and this and that, all these different things, but they all still agree in keeping the enslavement institutions that we have, that are keeping us down. It just blows my mind how everybody they all disagree, but they all agree that I just want government to do what I want them to do. You get what I'm saying? That's because they don't have principles.
Service
to self, because they don't have the principles, the core principles, to understand the difference between right and wrong. And so it's just beautiful mind control. I mean, it really is. It blows my mind. You've got the left, and you've got the right, the left brain and the right. Red invokes the left brain, right? The masculine, and blue invokes the right brain, or the feminine. That's why when you turn on Fox, it's going to be blue. They want you to accept what they're telling you. You turn on CNN, they want you acting out of emotion. It puts you in a imbalanced state. Either way you go, a cop comes up behind you and it's red, blue, red, blue, red, blue. They know what they're doing. These color frequencies definitely have an influence on us. Like green, for instance. Green is balance, right? Look behind me. The earth is creating what? It's creating green because it's balance, right? It's in the middle of the light spectrum. It represents balance. And that's why money's green. They want us to, something about money. Yeah, they want us to associate that with balance and harmony and, and all this. But,
nice
yeah,
yard,
huh?
Nice yard, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's my new yard. Yeah. But yeah, so they want us. They want to keep us in either a left brain or a right brain in balance, and that way, our higher thinking isn't working and functioning properly. But it's all about balancing the masculine energy and the feminine energy, which are the principle, the two pillars of enlightenment. Okay, you want to be enlightened? Here's the two pillars of enlightenment. Harm none and take no shit, basically, right? It's the sacred feminine principle of non-aggression principle, and the self-defense principle, which is the sacred masculine. Yeah, I don't know why I always have a brain fart when that happens, when I start talking about this stuff. But yeah, so I'm so programmed that I can't even hardly talk about this stuff without having brain farts.
Yes, aren't we all? It's like the language is used against us at times too. It actually puts spells on us. That's a whole
spelling. Spelling. They call it spelling. Come on. Call it spelling. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was the reason why they called it programs.
Yeah, and it comes through channels, channeling, right?
Yeah.
Me and Sterling
All the
talked
words.
about that the other day.
All the
Yeah.
words are
That's
used
cool.
against us. It's just never
Tell-
ceases to amaze me. Yeah.
Television through our channels and our programming. Yeah.
Tell a lie vision.
Television, yeah.
Tell a lie vision. Yeah.
That's it.
I haven't had a television for decades.
I don't have
Wow,
one.
cool.
If I did,
Now,
yeah.
anyway, guys, I would like to ask how vaccadoodles are in direct violation of natural law.
It's
That's a
called
good
rape.
one.
Yep.
It's called rape.
That's what
It
I
is.
believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's rape.
My body
Yeah.
is my temple.
In
Yeah.
France, the French word for rape is violer, like a violation, violation. You know, it's just pronounced a little differently, right? And yeah,
Yeah.
it's violating someone's skin, and it's just bypassing people's regular natural immune system. There's like a 3-layer immune system, right? At least.
Oh, even more than that. I
there's the
frequently
tonsils,
compare it
there's,
to the
stomach,
military.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I look on my end, I lecture at Autism 1 and stuff. Just the T cells. You have different T helper cells, and it bypasses T helper cell 1 and goes into T helper cell 2. And when you're supposed to have this equal balance of those two T helper cells, then T helper cell 1 stays down here, and T helper cell 2 goes up there. And what does that do? That's what autoimmune disease is, when one T cell is off from another.
Oh.
Hey,
wow.
and that's I forgot to tell you guys that lupus is also a problem that I got from my my V's in the military. So now I have lupus, which is strange for a guy to have. I know. I think that's pretty rare, but
That's because of the pulverized mouse brain that's in the vaccadoodle that had the XMRV virus.
Oh,
Gail, I am
nice.
sorry I interrupted you earlier. You were talking about the military, something. Please forgive me.
Oh, I just compare sometimes to really make it simple. I compare our immune system to the different branches of the military, and when you push a vaccadoodle, you're pushing just like only one branch, and all the other branches get subdued, and they're all necessary in order to put up the best fight, and in the body. That's why I do that comparison.
And you know what's crazy is that the vaccines, they along with, I'm sorry, oops, I said it, vaccadoodles. Dang, I knew I was gonna mess up.
We messed up every now and then.
It's okay. The algorithm is not gonna catch me anyway because I'm all. Am I okay now? Is everything good?
Yeah.
You good now? Okay.
Just don't move too much.
Okay. So what I was gonna say is that the vaccadoodles, if they get us to ask for these things and and accept them, even a tacit no is a yes. They understand how these things work. See, if people, the lost word is no. The lost word in occult in the mystery traditions, the lost word is no. When you don't say when you don't say no, then you're saying yes. And we've got to raise our voices up to these things, and we've got to start saying no. And not just with our voices, but also with our actions, And I think that, the four of us are doing what we can, to say no. But I think that, there's a certain number. It's 51, Area 51, May Days 5-1. The reason why 5-1, 51 is so important in the occult is because it's the point at which it's the tipping point. I mean, like, I hate to tell everybody the bad news. I mean, it's actually good news because it's, now until we get to that tipping point of 51 of people who are living morally and who are, we can expect all these saviors. We can, Q is going to save us. Jesus is coming back, blah, 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 blah. But until we start living it, we cannot have the natural law consequence. We're going to get what we give. And until at least 51% of us, until the majority of people are starting to live morally and come to the knowledge of natural law and start to live by it, there's no savior coming. We have to live it. And if we don't live it, then, I mean, we're going to get the consequences of our behavior. And that's what's going on right now, is that we're reaping what we sowed, and so that's why, with the whole Q movement, I got excited for like 5 minutes. I went and showed my girlfriend. I'm like, look, check this out. This might be happening, and I sat down and thought about it for a minute, and I was like, that's not what we deserve. That's not what we're, and then I was able to see through it. And I was like, you know what? I was like, trust the plan. You want me to sit back and trust the plan? Sit back and trust the plan instead of what? Taking a stand and actually doing, actually getting out and doing something for myself. Sit back and trust the plan. I mean, I've heard that one before, I've heard that one.
Save your programming. Yeah, exactly.
And it sucks because there's so many, go ahead.
Sorry. It's when I had, a friend of mine sent me some investigative journalism from Emily Fuentes. I saw the timestamps on 8 Gamers and Discord started it, and then it was sold several times. And then about 3 really, really big YouTubers, and I mean absolutely huge YouTubers, that were talking very bad about Q, actually stopped talking very bad about Q because they were getting monthly salary not to talk bad about Q. So that kind of, and I can't name the 3, but that kind of, that it made me get to where, which I want to believe everything that's coming out of there, and I do see some things happening. But the thing is that they saw a group of people that could get very strong and awaken many in the masses. Instead of getting out there and doing it, they told them, sit down and wait for the plan. Just be patient, wait for the plan. That's a big AIC. That's how the AIC spelled backwards works.
Operation.
I mean, I lived with one for 3 years. Come on. All right. So I almost married him until I woke up.
Wow.
Wait, what? But if let's say if people are confusing being awake. Watch. So what's happening with the Q movement is people are, they're waking up all kinds of people. Are they really? Like, because I don't consider, my version of, what I consider awake now is different than it was, like 5 years ago, or even 3 years ago. Now it's like, I could sit here and describe the prison till I'm blue in the face. Does that make me awake? Like, I could sit here and say what the walls are painted. I can, hey kitty. I could say what the walls are painted. I could talk about what's going on in the prison, but that doesn't truly make me awake. What makes me awake is realizing how I got in the prison and how I can get out. And how I got in the prison was because I didn't understand natural law, and the only way to get out of this prison is coming to a deep understanding of natural law, and that's what we got to raise the bar on what we consider awake. You know what I mean? There's different levels of it for sure. I'm just saying
absolutely. I will say I like listening to the stuff at Q and stuff because you see things there. But I absolutely do like listening because they're putting in truth with you to try to sit back and wait for the plan. But they are throwing in some truth bits in there. So
they couldn't do it the other way.
I think they feed little bits of information or to get people to do some of their own research, which would help a lot because people just expect to be spoon-fed every single thing. And I do think it stimulates some people. But those of us are awake can probably see, even past that. But it may help those that are only
the more awake
partially.
You become, sorry.
Go ahead.
The more awake you become, the more bullshit you have to swim through, guys.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, yes.
I thought it would get easier at some point. I thought it would get easier, but it just keeps getting harder and harder. It really does.
Yeah. It was easy for me. It kind of fell through the whole new age groove a little bit, and it was actually thanks to Mark Passio that kind of, slapped me out of that. So that was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, New Age pretty much got hijacked, just like everything's been hijacked one way or another.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the New Age movement, the thing about
it's a high level of deception, high level, multidimensional for sure.
Yeah, all the religions, including the New Age movement, they all have two of the three, right? Two thoughts, emotions, and actions. They all have two of the three. So the New Age movement has thoughts and emotions, but no action. Sit back and be the observer. Don't talk about the evil. You're going to create more of it if you talk about it. I mean, dude, that's absolutely bullshit.
Yeah, it's not all love and light, people. It's not all love and light. I mean, you got to put the light on the darkness, and so that has to be exposed.
Voila.
Gail and I talk about that quite a bit. We're like, where it's great that you have these people out there and they're like always talking about love, love, love. And they're like, oh, Sterling, you shouldn't show that. And I'm like, no, I'm bringing the darkness into the light so it can be resolved. If we don't dredge it up out of the earth to let it off of the planet, that negative lie, that deception, it's always going to stay within the earth. And so sometimes a light worker's job is to dredge up the ugliness, to expose it, to let it all out. So while other people are going around right now and yelling, oh my gosh, all this drama and stuff, and I'm like, no, this is what many have started asking for. Expose the lies, expose the lies. Well, what do you think's coming up right now? Everything you asked for so we can get it out of here.
Yeah. It's a painful process, that's for sure. Yeah. Well,
they're stuck in the right brain mode. They're stuck in the passive. Just love and light. Instead of if they balance out with the sacred masculine, it becomes more active. It becomes a more masculine. Get out and do something about this, and that's what we've got to do. We got to grab the people over here, right, who are in the New Age movement, pull them a little bit over here. You got to go grab the people over here who in scientism and God knows what else in the in the left brain, pull them back over here. And it's but it's really all about balance. I mean, to bring it back to
yin
that
and
point.
yang. Some people a little too much yin, others a little too much yang. I actually look at genetics that way too. I can tell the people that have a little too much yang going on and the ones that have a little too much yang going on. And like me, I'm a little too much yang energy, high vibration energy, just like real, just whoa, a million things going on. And I know that from my genetics. And I've learned how to kind of, with food, diet, and balance, and thought, and meditation, bring it back into a balance. Gail, I'm pretty sure she's a nutritionist, and Gail can tell you, food can balance that yin and yang. If you would like to talk about that, Gail, that's up your alley, probably, how food can do that for you.
Well, yes, I certainly am not an advocate of eating animals. That's very low vibrational activity, as well as, but I'm at the same time, I'm not acting like I'm superior because I don't or anything of that nature. That is not the point. But at the same time, just because someone else kills the animal for you doesn't mean that you don't still have the karma as a result of it. As far as nutrition goes, I believe that we are at our best when we stay with mainly fruits and vegetables.
I feel it.
They're high vibrational. They provide us with the type of fifth phase water, which we get from products like Wata.
Wata! I wanted to ask you about that. Yes, Wata.
Yes. That's wonderful water, wonderful, wonderful. But that's actually in the form that the water, like if you juice and get that out of the fruit or vegetable or whatever, that's the type of water that you're getting. You're getting the fifth phase water.
Yeah. There's some beautiful juice today.
Yeah. And so that's what, I kind of, people don't like to be told what to do with their diet. I found that a very difficult thing to do as a nutritionist.
Battle of the egos,
Yeah, you can tell them all. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, okay? And you have to convince them. And then you have the other aspect that there are certain, and this people don't want to hear this either, and I'll tell you what it is. When you give up meat, you're going to crave it for a while, and part of that craving comes from the parasites that you have gotten in your body as a result of consuming those things.
You guys are going to be very proud of my family right now. Guess what? My son came up to me, and I always complain because my son and daughter-in-law are not well. And guess what? Mom, would you like to go to the store? I think the whole house should go on a 30-day juice cleanse. And I'm like,
Wow.
Wow.
I think I think maybe my energy is kind of resonating in the house now. So we're gonna do a little shopping this afternoon and get ready. We're gonna pull out the juicer and we're doing a 30-day juice cleanse. Every adult in this house.
Wow.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.
Wait,
Awesome,
I love
awesome,
it.
awesome.
That made my morning because
Well, see,
I
and
struggle. with
then
that.
you change, one of the benefits of that too is you exchange that old water that has bad resonance in it, kind of like when you go back to Dr. Emoto's stuff, because it's, water is programmable. So, and then you bring in all this new water from fruits and vegetables, and as well from Wata, and you can, go into the higher vibrational modes and program that water to be love and peace and harmony and all those good things.
And talk to your food. And I also grow food. And Gail and I were talking about Valiant Bar and then the American Indian. What I go outside every morning and I do, I just look at my finger like this. Oh, no, COVID. No, sorry. But anyway, I look at my finger and I rub it on a leaf.
I've been doing that too.
On each one of my plants, because it will resonate with my DNA, and it'll be that much more compatible and healthy. And then before I drink that juice, or before I go and eat that salad, I talk to the salad. I tell the salad how thankful I am for it, how grateful I am for it, and how healthy and vibrant it is making me. Because that people don't realize that energy. You're going to put it into that food that you're going to eat. And if you're sitting there and arguing with your spouse and you're having a healthy plate of broccoli, let me tell you something. You might as well go to McDonald's or Burger King, because that broccoli's going to rot faster in your gut.
I like to think not that bad, but anyway.
It rots investors. We
probably get some human DNA in there.
Even with cancer, I've told people with cancer. I had a friend call me the other day and she couldn't get what I was saying, and she got very offended because she got a bad cancer diagnosis. And I said, I know you're going through a lot, but I need to put you through boot camp because you have something aggressive. She had a really aggressive one. And I started talking to her about thought and forgiving. And I knew she had a lot of anger and emotion with her family, and that could be feeding her cancer. And I tried to steer her towards that too. And oh boy, she hung up the phone on me. People don't understand. Wow. You can study the German doctor, Dr. Hammer. He has proven that not letting go, not forgiving. I mean, all of us have had hard times. We've all had our stories. I had a mom who was an alcoholic. My mom married more people than, who was that lady that got married 8 times? But my mom was married to so many men and stuff. I mean, it was a hard life and stuff, but you don't hear me getting on one of these things. Oh, I had such a hard life. No, I forgave. I moved on. It was an experience. It was something here I experienced. And, I take my lemons and I make lemonade with them. And you got to let all those bad things go. Because that
after you spit on them, huh?
Cancer.
After you put your spit on them.
Yeah.
Yes, that actually, the Native Americans have known that for a long time.
I've heard of that.
Wow, okay.
Heard of that.
Yeah, do that with your plants now. And that garden tower that you used to see in my yard, Shane, my garden tower with all the veggies I had hanging out of it. Okay. Yeah. They're about $75 now.
Oh, wow.
What?
Yeah, and it can grow 50 things at once. You could get a couple of those in your backyard, 3 or 4 of them, and have 200 different vegetables growing at once.
Wow,
Ooh.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm going to have to try that.
Yeah.
I started growing, and it didn't go too well. I did something wrong, and and so Evan, so I'm a Pisces. Like, all I'm worried about is the world. Like, everything going on in the world. I got to save the world, all this. Evan doesn't care about what's going on in the world. She only cares about here, right now, me, fixing myself. I mean, she cares, you know what I mean? But she sees it as like, the only way we're going to change the world is by changing ourselves, which is completely true. I see it, the way I see it, which is, we've got to get out and we've got to, and the reason why me and Evan, it's crazy. Let me tell you a really quick side note. I was born on March 14th, 1980. Okay. Evan was born on April 14th, 1980. Everything that's Pisces in my chart is Aries in her chart. And you cannot get any further apart or any closer than Aries, right? And Pisces. Okay. It's like the
the beginning and the end of the astro.
Dude, and I'm telling you, it is, if you guys hung out with us for any amount of time, you'd be like, what are y'all doing? Like, this is not supposed to be like this. It's so freaking hard, man. But like, you know, deep down inside, you know, we have all the big cycles that are exactly the same. So I don't know, my Saturn and her Saturn's the same, my Uranus and her, whatever. All these big cycles we have are the same, but those, you know, they're all the Aries and all the Pisces, because I got my sun, my moon, and Mercury in Pisces. Her sun, moon, and Mercury is in Aries, and it's crazy. But my point of saying that is that, you know, she has her ways, you know, or her ideas of what we, you know, what we should be doing, and it has a lot to do with the self, you know. And she was like, you need to spend more time figuring out how to grow this food that you're trying to grow instead of trying to save the world and blah, 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 you know, trying to figure out what's going on in the world. And it's hilarious because like there's a balancing act that's trying to happen here in my house, and it's we're both hard-headed, so it's taking a little bit longer. I don't know, maybe, I mean, for my parents it took like 40 years before they started getting along, you know. And my mom's moon sign is in Aries and my dad's moon sign is in Pisces, and so I see the same exact karmic, you know, wheel going on here. It's weird, man. It's really weird. But yeah, so that's what my Aries counterpart was telling me. I needed to worry more about learning how to grow the food and less about trying to save the world, because I'm going to end up having to try and save myself when it all comes down, you know?
Wow. That's wild.
Yeah, so I need that. I need that. What you were talking about, Sterling, and send me a picture of that or where to get it, and I'll definitely spend a little more time doing some of that. All right.
So, Derek, are you able to grow your own food where you're at?
It's hard. I'm technically, I've been homeless since mid-November last year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my wife broke up with me. We've been together for about a decade. Oh, and wow. Get this, Shane, one of the biggest arguments we've ever had, and this has only been going on for the past like 2 years, it was that she does not see truth as objective. You get me?
How can that be?
I don't know. She's kind of keyed into some of the moral relativism.
It baffles me.
Truth is kind of subjective. Everyone has their own kind of truth in a sense. And she's a Taurus. It's kind of, and I'm a Leo. We kind of butt heads. She's got the stubborn Taurus attitude of things, but and she got really deep into minimalism. And I don't know if you guys are into that or know much about it.
Evan's a minimalist.
Yeah. There's some great things about that, but at the same time, I see some like new age, you know, psyop-ish things about that as well. Kind of, give away all your books and everything, you know, like don't have anything. I'm like, you can fit everything, your whole life into a backpack, kind of, you know. It's just like,
is it really necessary?
It just depends on it.
Yeah,
if you don't take it too far.
Being a materialist and, you know, mastering your materials, more or less, you know.
Yeah, well, with the way the world's going, we need to hold on to a few things, I think.
Yeah, right.
I've got all my, I've got boxes of herbal books, homeopathy books, just
word.
You know, everything's about herbs, homeopathies. So,
yeah, see, I lost a lot of books, and I do regret that, because now if the internet ever goes off or any of those things happen, what are you going to have? You don't have anything, but, you know.
Yeah, I have enough. I have about 300 homeopathies. I have about 300 essential oils. I've got about 50 flower essences. I've got shelves where when you walk in here, it looks like you're in an apothecary. So
awesome.
yeah, I know. And I collect things that what I plan on doing. Gail knows about this. I'm moving in northern Alabama. We're kind of building something there where it's got freshwater streams, caves and stuff, and it's going to be quite a few of us that are going to go off the grid. So
There are other groups of people
Yeah.
doing the same thing, and I
Mhm.
think it's a good thing because it's living once
Sure.
again closer to the
with
earth.
nature. I
Yeah.
want to live with Earth. I want off grid. I don't want to be a part. This reality that they are creating is not my reality. I have to be with nature. So
Brilliant.
it's the train whistle's blowing. I'm going to be going in a year or two. So
Awesome. That's cool
Yeah,
to
if
hear
you
that.
need any help, with that, let me know. We'll come take a trip over there and check it out and see if there's anything I can do. I don't know.
that sounds great. Because there's a few of us getting together. I kind of went on the when I had my awakening. You guys talking about relationships. I left my husband. We split up about almost 6 years ago. Went into a celibacy thing. I'm just celibate for almost 6 years. You know, it's part of it. You know, it can help you raise your consciousness when you go into something like that, a sacrifice like that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, just said, oh, I've got grandchild number 1. Then all of a sudden number 2 pops up, then number 3 last year, now number 4 last week.
Wow.
And so I've got, you know, I'm in my 50s now, grandbabies, and I'm just, living that kind of life relationship with them, trying to help some of these woke grandbabies keep their third eye open because everyone around them is trying to shut it down for them.
No.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's what we do from childhood on. Children are programmed. They start programming with societal things that are not to their benefit, just like
I'm so
religious
proud of-
program. That
I'm
kind
so
of thing.
proud of my daughter, y'all. I really am. She actually listens to Mark Passio. She
Wow.
actually she actually she thinks
Not
it's
the
really,
last
we call,
episode, I hope, man. Holy shit.
I actually did show her. I did. Mark's losing it. Mark is losing it. Like, if you knew what he knew and you had to go through what he goes through, you'd be losing it too, I promise. But like, yeah, so his podcast right now, he's just going off. Like, he's
There's
straight
required
up going
information and
off.
knowledge to be learning, you know, listening to him at this point for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right. People who are just tuning in are gonna go like, this guy's nuts. But like,
I've listened to him years ago. A few years ago, and I haven't listened to him since. So I'd have to listen to him again. But I understand where he's coming from.
Yeah,
but I haven't heard
that's
anything
the
recent.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my daughter. I mean, like, it's crazy because you know what woke her up? The Hunger Games, of all things. The Hunger Games.
That's
Wow.
She watched
that's the
the Hunger
direction they're
Games.
heading.
She watched the Hunger Games and was like, Dad, I think I see all that stuff that you've been talking about now. Yeah, because she saw it she saw the programming of the Hunger Games and how it was predictive programming, and she was like, Dad, I think you might be right about all this stuff. Before she watched the Hunger Games, and it's her favorite movie, and she watches it all the time. But before that, she didn't want to hear what I had to say. She's like, whatever, you know. But then after she watched the Hunger Games, she really got into it. And now I have Mark on all the time, you know, just around the house. You know, I try to, like, I've watched the Natural Law Seminar probably 18 times or something. I'll tattoo people for an extra hour. I'll be like, hey, dude, I'll tattoo you for an extra hour if while we're tattooing, I can show you this Natural Law Seminar thing. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
wow, that's a great idea. Forced education.
I mean, look, listen. I mean, like, I'm trying it, man. I'm trying, man, because like I recognize that really is the only way we're going to get out of this thing, you know? So, I mean, we've got to know. It's kind of like if we were playing a virtual reality game, right? And, you know, you invited your friend over, right? And they're playing the game. You've got all the rules. You understand what happens when you press A and B, or when you know what I mean? Like, you understand how the game works, right? Well, your friend comes over and they don't know how the game works, right? They're not going to make it through the game very well. Now, let's say I'm a dark occultist, right? And I invite somebody over, right? Not only am I not going to give them the knowledge that I have, but I'm also going to throw a bunch of lies in there and tell them that when you press A and B together, it jumps, when really when you press A and B together, it goes through the ground. I don't know. But anyway, the point is that's what we've got here. We've got, like, people, you know, who are out there, dark occultists who are putting out garbage knowledge, you know, and they're wrapping it inside of religions and all this stuff. And it's basically negative knowledge, right, Derek? You talk about negative knowledge a lot.
Yeah, like when people think they know something that's, you know, they think is true when it's not.
Negative knowledge, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we're coming from, a place, not of a place of ignorance, right? But we're coming from a place of negative knowledge, you know, where we have to unlearn a bunch of stuff.
Don't kill. Vaccadoodles keep you nice and healthy.
Safe and effective.
God.
Yeah, safe and effective when they've never even been tested. Oh my God.
Yeah.
You
well,
know,
I don't know everyone. I've been seeing people on Facebook, Sterling, Shane, Gail. I gotta add you on Facebook, but yeah, I know myself included. We've all been headbutting walls in the past couple months, especially, you know, during the whole Rona, the era of the Rona.
Yeah, we're in our what is it? We're in our
operating.
I think astrologically it's been
all the planets are retrograde.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yes. Retrograde. So I think that we're
Mercury
seeing all
just
this
went retrograde
garbage just being
yeah.
regurgitated. And I've regurgitated a bit of it. And I'm like, oh my, I should have looked at that before I put that out there.
Five planets, including Mercury now retrograde. And
Saturn
but wait till Mars. Wait till Mars goes retrograde. I think September 9th or something. It's going retrograde. It's in Pisces now, but it's going to go retrograde back into Aries. What? And it's going to be like, yeah, Mars in Aries. Can you imagine? Mars is ruled by Aries. It's like war and man energy. It's going to be all
That's
crazy.
what I hear is that September is going to be kind of, we have not seen anything yet. So I'm going to be like, you know, I'm glad I gave up television years ago. I watch my YouTubers. I need to start following you guys. I watch my YouTubers, and then sometimes I watch a little something like old sci-fi, like Stargate or something on Netflix.
Yeah, great allegories there.
Yeah, I know. You can
there's truth
see
in
they
that,
show
you
you
know?
stuff. I go watch all the Stargates over and over again and see something new every time. Wow, look what they showed us. And you know, when you kind of look at the, you know, what is really a star, because when you get these good cameras out or these good telescopes out now and you go look at a star, guess what? There's a black hole in the middle, and it's a star, and it's like a Stargate. Is it a portal into some? Yeah, that's what I see them are, is live portals, like live entity portals.
Wow.
That's how I see the star. You know, I never did believe that BS. They're burning balls of gaseous light from millions of years ago. What? All the BS we were taught, huh?
Oh, everything. Every single profession, every single area, from religion to education to healthcare to law. People that I've been lied to by all of it.
They all do the exact opposite of what they're supposed to do. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
It's like lawyers ruin justice and doctors ruin health, and you know.
Exactly.
Up is down, left is right, yes is no, the truth is a lie. I feel like I've been thrown on some kind of weird alternate Earth.
Yeah.
Inverted Earth.
I'm so ready for it to evolve into something much better. And that's why we're all here, trying to wake people up, because we got to get it into the collective consciousness in order for that to happen.
Yeah, totally.
And
which
knowledge is what's going to do it.
I wanted to mention and ask you guys all a question, because I keep getting this on my end. You know, my friends, I you know, share videos on YouTube. I mean, what other videos other than YouTube can we share? I mean, yeah, there's library and other stuff, but obviously everyone knows YouTube.
Yeah.
And then people come up with the logical fallacy direct, like, oh, you're gonna show me something on YouTube? Like that's not real, kind of.
Oh yeah.
There's a great quote by Nixon.
It's on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's true if it's on their TV, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Nixon said, quote Nixon. He said, people will not believe anything until they see it on the TV. You know,
worship your false
people are so
god,
programmed
Anderson
like
Cooper.
that.
Yeah, everybody worships the false god Anderson Cooper. On his resume, he is AIC spelled backwards.
Yes, he is, right?
He's an op. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I
thought.
On his
It's public.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, you're worshiping your false god Anderson Cooper. I don't worship any of those. So, sorry.
Yeah, I don't worship anyone.
Yeah.
Oh, the more I found out about all the stuff that they were doing, I don't even want to watch a movie anymore.
I know.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah,
enough to
yeah.
make
It's
me
so
want to
sad.
puke.
You don't have to watch anything
Yeah.
right now. All you got to do is go on your social media, and it's like, whoa, look at this. Well, look, all the dirt being brought up to the surface. I mean, a lot of it's bullshit lies, but you're like, man, you don't even have to go to the movies anymore. All you got to do is look at what's going on out here. Because when you're like us and you keep locked out of that, you don't watch TV and whatever, and then you throw on your social media and you're like, and these people sit here and absorb this 24/7. And if you say it enough, what happens? You believe it.
That's exactly. Well, we're coming up on a little over an hour, so I was wondering if we could go through everybody and just make a summary statement about what we're talking about today and how important it is and what you're trying to get across. So we want to start with you, Sterling?
Right.
Okay, what am I trying to get across? Open your eyes, take the blinders off. Realize that a lot of what they're saying right now is a lie, and they want you to believe in the lie still. Stop being hand-fed, go research for yourself. I get people like that all the time. I make a statement, they're like, well, can you show me 20 peer review? And I said, well, sorry, I got bills to pay, but you know what? Use your little search bar and go to PubMed and put in what I just told you and pull it up yourself. I want people to stop thinking that everybody needs to hand them stuff. I want people to start seeking what they need to seek on their own. When you do it on your own, you're going to find the real deal. Just start looking for truth, and know the more you wake up, the more bullshit you're going to have to swim through too. So get used to it. But
here's one of the problems that I see. I want to make a quick point here. One of the problems I see with sometimes when we are telling people to, do your own research, when it comes to health type things like we're dealing with right now, they're going to go to CDC website. They're going to go all the wrong places and get the wrong information.
Go to Green Med info. Go to, Sayer Green Med info. He's got a database up in there too that you can join. And he's got the peer review that they're trying to hide on you right now, the good stuff.
They're erasing stuff at phenomenal rates too.
They're erasing it.
And truth. Yeah, they're erasing it left and right.
Yeah,
okay, Derek, you're next.
I didn't really answer the question properly when you asked about the V's and how they're against natural law, so I'm just going to...
go for it.
It's synthetic. It's full of junk. It's full of toxins. Yes, they want to, provoke that, immune stimulus response and what have you, but it's not even vegan. It's not vegetarian because it's all, and it has aborted fetal tissue cells in some of these things. And I don't know if you guys went into what DARPA has been concocting as far as hydrogel. Sterling, have you heard about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. AI technology injected right into the human being to...
Are we talking smart
dust?
That
transhumanist agenda, full-fledged. Hey, 2045 is,
making us cyborgs by putting it in a vaccine and calling it hydrogel, and it's from CERN. Doesn't sound like it's going to go on me. It's not going to go on me. Over my dead body.
Yeah. Exactly. That's right. That's the attitude that everyone needs to have, because no one, all these things, anything that's mandated is claiming ownership over other people's bodies. That's basically what this is. All right. That's what I want people to really understand and reclaim their ownership over themselves and understand their rights. And,
your body is your temple.
Yeah, exactly. And people need to have it more respect for it. They need to really fall in love with their body, fall in love with themselves, have that inner gnosis. Right. And, if people want to know more about natural law and they're not feeling the style of Mark Passio, his natural law presentation, it is 9 hours long, and I'm in the process of completing the entire transcripts. Me and a friend, we wrote at word for word everything throughout the whole 9 hours.
Wow.
If people don't like his work or his voice or his tone or his attitude, whatever, there's other people. There's Manly P. Hall. You guys know about Manly P. Hall, right? Beautiful human being, you know. He's probably my second favorite. There's also Sethicus Boza from Black Earth Productions. He gets into all types of have you heard about him?
Yeah.
There's Nate
I
Cap.
like him.
There's Nathan Riddick. There's Tony Sayers and Chris Nelson. Chris Nelson has a great website called evolveconsciousness.org. He has some of the best infographics regarding the trivium, natural law, morality, cause and effects, all these things.
What was his name again?
Chris Nelson.
Oh, Nelson.
I think it's Chris with a K. But evolveconsciousness.org, that's his website.
Mhm.
And yeah, my website is Awaken Your Mind with a YA, mind. And I have quite a few, dozens of videos that revolve around the whole natural law, some hitting hard on natural law and some videos on it as well. That includes some of the people that I mentioned. You know, I cut up little vocal snippets. That's why I say I do truth-infused music, because I like to throw in sound bites on
It's cool. It's
over
cool. I've seen it.
instrumentals. Yeah, I appreciate
It's really
that.
cool. I like it.
Haven't they distorted much of the music with an off
Right.
frequency?
And I do record my
432.
music in 432 hertz. I wish
Yeah,
I could do it in
432,
528,
yeah.
but yeah. No.
440. They put it in 440. Basically, it's a little bit of dissonance. It's just enough that it gets, you know, and we don't notice it, you know, like with our ear. But 432 is what the Earth is humming at, basically. You know, it's a frequency that the Earth's humming at. So yeah.
Yeah, Leonard Horowitz does some great work on that.
He's a friend of
Yes,
mine.
I like him
Really?
a lot. Yes,
No way, that's so cool.
I have. Yeah, I have.
That's awesome. He has a great book as well, for sure. Yeah.
I have a chime from him that rings at 528, and I have
wow,
a
that's
tuning
so
fork
cool.
that does the
Awesome.
same. Yeah.
I gotta get one.
I like
Actually,
him.
Shane, he's really good. Leonard Horowitz is really good friends with Raphael. Raphael introduced me to Leonard.
Get him.
Hey. Okay, Shane, I guess we're down to you.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I really think that I think the pillars of enlightenment are the most important thing that we need to understand. I think the balancing those two. When I was little, my dad taught me to turn the other cheek, you know, and he taught me the sacred feminine, you know, don't cause harm. But he didn't. He taught me turn the other cheek, and I went through years and years and years and years of seeing what damage that can do to someone. You know, as a kid, I got beat up like a few times a week. I'd come home crying, you know, I mean, multiple times every week, because people knew I wasn't going to hit back. I was going to turn the other cheek and all this. And, oh my gosh, speaking of, my dad's calling me right now. Are you there? Yeah, my dad was calling me. Like, I'm talking about him, and he's calling me.
Wow.
He heard you.
Synchronistically.
So anyway, yeah. So you know, I was showing Dad something, a video that where Mark was talking about that. I was like, see, Dad, the importance of knowledge. Like, you taught me good things, but like, you didn't have the knowledge to back up, you know, the reasons why it's important, you know, to not only not cause harm, but it's also important, you know, to not you know, the self-defense principle is just as important, and you have to have those two balanced out. And with those two balanced out, we're, you know, we would you know, live in society, you know, in other words, with those two balanced out, you couldn't possibly stick by those principles and, you know, and support government. You couldn't possibly stick by those principles and support any order following. You know, you would understand that, you know, people have the right to do anything that doesn't cause harm to another sentient being. And, you know, just because someone else says that, you know, that breaking the law means, not doing this or not doing that. If you're not causing harm, then you're not actually breaking the
Any
law.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
it's a universal law, the way
Right.
I
Yeah.
understand it, that you have a
Yeah.
right to defend yourself.
Totally.
Right. Yeah, you
Universe has
have.
your
That's
back
your
on that.
responsibility. That's the last thing I want to
Yeah.
talk about. It's your. Anytime we give up our responsibility to either take care of ourselves, I had in my head, the responsibility to take care of ourselves with government, or to protect ourselves with order followers, police, or whatever you want to call them. We invite tyranny. It will happen. It's because when these people are completely immersed in the left brain imbalance, right? And so what happens when a person gets immersed in the left brain imbalance, has a left brain imbalance, is that they want to become a dominator, right? A person who gets immersed in the right brain imbalance becomes a slave. And so if you have a society that's ruled by a bunch of people that are stuck in the left brain, it's going to eventually come to tyranny. So we have to be careful of giving up our, right. We have to be careful about giving up, the forefathers should have stopped it at, the Bill of Rights. You know what I'm saying? Like that should have been it. I mean, once they brought another government in, okay, then they brought in soft slavery that is eventually going to become hard slavery. Anarchy is, it is the only way. Jesus was an anarchist. Anarchy, it literally means without rulers. On means without in Latin, and archon is rulers without rulers. And they have us believing that anarchy means
Greek, actually, sorry.
Chaos. Greek, I'm sorry. They have us believing that anarchy means chaos, and and that's by design, because it actually means freedom. But in order for anarchy to work, you have to have internal monarchy. You understand? So you have to have control over yourself and your actions, okay? And in the aggregate, most people have to have control over themselves and their actions and have an understanding of natural law for this to work out. So I'm going to send everybody to Shane Paul Smith YouTube. I have some of my music up there. I got a song called "The United States of Hysteria." I think
I love
Gail,
that song, by the way.
Yes, I will be playing that. I
Yeah.
will be adding that to the end of the video so people can hear it and see it at the end of the video.
So if you guys want to add me on Facebook, huh?
Derek, we need Derek's YouTube channel as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Plug it in.
Yes,
Awaken
if you,
your mind. Yeah.
Yes. If you want to send me the exact links when I put up the description on the YouTube channel, I will include it. I'll include the links in the description. And it's much better if you send them to me, because in order to look them up and stuff, it takes so much more time. And I have to go through the addition of the logo and things like that with my friend in order to get this up. And we'll probably have it up this evening sometime, maybe sooner.
Awesome.
So
yeah, well, I mean, I'd like to send everybody to they can come add me on Facebook or add me on subscribe on YouTube or whatever. I'm gonna start doing more videos, more things like this. Are we gonna be able to put this on our YouTube channel too, or we'll just
please
gonna be
do.
on yours?
No, please do. Share it all over the place.
Cool.
Cool.
Share it all over the place. Like and share. I'm finding out that you need to ask. I hate to ask people to do things, but that's something that makes it makes the difference with the AI and the algorithms and stuff like that. So in order for people to even find it, they have to like and share it. So I can't thank you guys enough. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, appreciate
and
inviting on your platform.
I'm happy to have had you, and who knows, maybe we might do it again. We'll see how it goes. Again, like and share. Thank you, audience, and thank you, my guests. And until next time, we'll see you again. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Ciao.
Oh, now I just got to find I guess I need my specs on, unfortunately.